But meantime, all eyes on special counsel Robert Mueller. Attorney General William Barr releasing the principal findings of the report, which found no evidence of collusion between President Trump's campaign and Russia in the 2016 election. But questions remain on the issue of whether President Trump obstructed justice by undermining some investigations throughout his presidency. White House Press Secretary Sarah Sanders speaking out against those claims about the cost as well of the 2-year-long investigation. Let's watch.
This is a 2-year waste of taxpayer time and dollars. They spent over $25 million on this just to find out that there was nothing there. This should never happen to another president, and we want to make sure that the institution of the president is protected.
All right, joining us now is former FBI Assistant Director. There he is. Chris, I want to ask you first, what your take is on all of this, as we're seeing now both sides talk about the Mueller report being not released to the public yet. Do you think that we're going to see that?
I think we're going to see more of it besides the Bill Barr summary, and he committed in his confirmation hearing that he would release as much information as the law would allow, and he favored transparency here. So I think we're going to see a lot more come out. I do think that there are parts of it that by law can't be released. That includes grand jury material. That's just law. It can't be waived by Congress or anybody else. So there's going to be parts of it we can't see. And I think it's money well spent, honestly, because we know that Russia committed espionage against our 2016 election. So I think it's important for the American public to get educated about that, for us to get better at stopping that, and to create a deterrent for any U.S. citizen who might, in the future, assist the Russians in hacking or anything else that might impact an election. So, you know, I think they could easily spend that money in a covert espionage investigation without the presidential campaign angle to it.
Well, you talk about the public having to get educated real quick. When we talk about the Mueller probe wrapping up, that, of course, is not the only look into the president. What about how it might play a role in the other investigations into Trump's campaign finance problems over there? Do you think that that will need to be released in order for those investigations to move forward?
Yeah, well, first let me put some context to it. I think that the special counsel exercised some pretty good discipline in not straying too far from his mandate. So in pitching the Michael Cohen case up to the Southern District of New York, the hush money, alleged hush money payments up to the Southern District of New York, and not bringing that in to his investigation. Also, there's another separate campaign finance investigation by the New York Attorney General, which he has no influence over one way or the other. I just think these are other issues that need to be resolved. They will be resolved. I would only note that the federal case, which is the hush money payment, and whether that's the campaign finance payment, is in the hands of the Attorney General as well. So you're going to see the Attorney General play a role in that case as well.
Hey, Chris, this is Heidi here in the studio. Just a quick question for you.
Hi.
In terms of the president claiming that he was completely exonerated, that's not exactly true, is it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, in terms of the obstruction of justice charge, I mean, I think that he was exonerated by the special counsel himself on the quote Russian collusion allegations. The obstruction allegations were examined very carefully by the special counsel, but he did not make a decision one way or the other. He said, I can't say he committed a crime, and I'm not exonerating him. He basically passed that decision up the chain of command to the Attorney General himself, who did make the decision. So I don't think that they could go forward with that case with the Attorney General rendering the opinion that he did. You could argue that that's not an exoneration. You could argue that when someone's found innocent by a jury, that's not necessarily an exoneration. You know, it's just, I think everybody looks at the term exoneration differently.
Chris, I got to ask you, though, based on the way that it did play out, was that at all surprising that Mueller did stop and let William Barr run with what he found in the report and didn't say it was going to be his call? He let him make the final decision. Is that surprising in your mind, or do you think that's the way that this was always going to go?
I thought he would always push the entire package up to the Attorney General and have the Attorney General make the prosecution decisions. This is what we criticized Jim Comey for back when he had his press conference, was making prosecutive decisions. Now, I understand the special counsel a law does account for that, and he could have made that decision, but I think that was a closer call. And this is just one person's opinion with 40 years of experience in the field, but I would say he didn't make that call because it was a much closer call.
All right. Chris Swecker, former FBI Assistant Director, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate the time.